What the researchers said, the symptoms from sleep deprivation are appearing 2 to 3 times faster than normal. That means 99% of humanity will die in 5 days instead of 12. Now, this mother has been awake for 24 hours, so she's already quickly losing her critical thinking ability. If the average human has an IQ of 100, after 24 hours, this woman's IQ might actually fall below her own daughter's intelligence. She needs to use these valuable hours of normal brain function to teach her daughter everything she knows about how to survive. She's been awake for 24 hours, and in 4 more days, she'll be dead. Now, there was one decision that they could have made months ago that would have saved their lives. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club delivering awesome boxes of top-shelf goods from under-the-radar brands. And when the apocalypse hits, you're going to wish you stocked up with Bespoke Post. The trail kit they sent me comes with a field box that's sturdy enough to protect ammunition, tools, and pretty much anything else, with a water-resistant compression lid and a beefy construction, as well as a gut hook knife, a pocket saw with nylon straps, paracord bracelet with 10 feet of potentially life-saving cord, and importantly, this book, Surviving the Great Outdoors by Brendan Leonard. With just 24 hours to learn how to survive, this book is going to be what saves your life. Every month, Bespoke Post sends you cool new products based on your preferences, like this beautiful handmade Damascus steel knife and leather sheath from the Forge box. Each box has at least $70 in retail value, but costs only $45, so it's a great deal. And if you don't like the box they assign you, you can easily swap it for another box or skip a month whenever you want. By the time an EMP hits, it's going to be way too late for online shopping, so you know you better act fast. Use my link in the description and coupon code HowToBe20 to get 20% off your first monthly box today. And when everyone else is caught unprepared, you'll be ready. Thank you to Bespoke Post for sponsoring this video. Running inside the house, the mother discovers her daughter is missing, and Noah here says she's at church with her grandma. They need to find a working car to get the girl to safety, and the two are about to leave the house when the lab assistant suddenly barges in. He demands to know if her daughter is able to sleep, and her son reveals the truth, saying that he woke the girl up this morning. The man insists they go to the hub to research the girl, but the mother refuses and rushes her son outside. At the church, the little girl wakes up from her nap, and the congregation believes she's a sign from God. Desperate for a cure to their insomnia, this one suggests they sacrifice the girl in order to be healed, and the pastor is against the idea. But when this man volunteers to help kill her, the rest of the church realizes they're all willing to do anything for a night of sleep. That's when the mother walks in asking for her daughter, and the pastor tells her the girl might be able to cure them. She tries to calm them down, but the congregation makes it clear they won't let the girl leave. The lab assistant steps forward and threatens to come back with the army if they don't hand her over, but that's when all hell breaks loose. The cop suddenly shoots the man in the head, and everyone is stunned. The grandma runs with the girl to hide, and everyone chases her down to receive their blessing. Okay, now that we know it takes just over 24 hours without sleep to turn a God-loving congregation into Westboro Baptist Church, I think I'll be skipping youth camp for the foreseeable future. So far, these people have shown both loss of critical thinking and paranoia from accelerated symptoms of sleep deprivation. Clearly, we can't trust anyone, and the less sleep everyone gets, the more irrational they're going to become. That means calm negotiation and level-headed reasoning will become useless tools because people will be making decisions based on their emotional state. And right now, their emotional state is uncontrollable fear. This is incredibly dangerous, but it's also a blessing in disguise, because there's a great way to use their insomnia and fear to our advantage. These believers have had so little sleep and are so desperate for answers that as long as we tell them exactly what they want to hear, we can control the room. If I were this girl, I would tell them I'm willing to sacrifice myself just like Jesus did. Then I'd reach for the offering tray and tell them they'll only receive divine healing after they surrender their hearts, guns, and wallets to God. If they already believe that this girl is a sign, then they just might be willing to listen. Once they're disarmed, I'll tell them all to bow their heads in prayer, and when their eyes are closed, I'll quietly leave the building. It sounds crazy, but faith and survival are extremely powerful motivators, and when you haven't slept in 26 hours, pretty much anything will sound like a good idea to a room of desperate and emotional people. Downstairs, they search one of the rooms for the girl, and the grandma won't tell anyone where she is, but she sees the mother and signals at the daughter's hiding place. That's when the cop pulls his gun on the woman and demands to know where the girl is. The mother heads upstairs and finds her daughter hiding, while the son searches the lab assistant's dead body for anything useful. In his breast pocket, he finds a piece of paper with the coordinates of the research hub on it, but when gunshots go off downstairs, he realizes he needs to leave immediately. Leaving the church, the family runs through the forest and stops at a repair shop. The mother tells them she's going to find a working car, and her son suggests they should head to the research hub, but she disagrees. The scientist will turn her daughter into a guinea pig, but he points out they'll both die from sleep deprivation, and Matilda here will be alone if they don't find help. Realizing he's right, the mother agrees and goes off to search for a car. Okay, this was terrible logic. If I actually had any faith that scientists could figure out a cure, then I would express ship this girl to the research lab without even a fragile sticker on the box. Unfortunately, cures and vaccines take months or years to discover, and in a sleepless apocalypse, time is something they do not have on their side. In 48 hours, even the smartest scientific minds will be so tired that they'll be useless to finding a cure. Everyone in the world will be dead long before they could even get their treatment. It's a fool's errand, and this mother is wasting valuable time. Now, if I'm this little girl, I wouldn't want to put my life in the hands of two sleepless people who are too tired to think clearly. If I knew they're all going to be dead, then we need to look at this situation in a completely different way. Right now, we are humanity's only hope of surviving an extinction event, and that means the priority is to keep ourselves alive at all costs. If your family members are too tired to make good decisions on your behalf, then they aren't reliable and we need to ditch them. At this point, it's very likely that this girl's functional IQ is higher than both of them, so it's time to take matters into our own hands and run to the nearest library. It's the perfect place to hide because nobody will be there, but more importantly, without phones or internet, it's the only source of information left on Earth. From there, we can learn how to forage and hunt, cook and farm, and other important survival skills that we can't reliably get from our family. She walks into an auto repair shop to find a body on the floor, and two thugs are inspecting a car in the back. But when the door closes loudly behind her, the man comes to check it out. He approaches the guy on the floor, who whimpers in pain, so the thug decides to shut him up for good. The criminals go back to work on their car, and the mother grabs a handful of keys, hiding under the table right before the thug approaches. That's when the men hear a car in the distance and see a military jeep passing by with medical supplies. Deciding to go after it, they get in their car and leave the shop. With the men gone, the mother takes one of the working cars and picks up her kids. But once they realize what's waiting for them at the hub, they'll wish they never left. That night, as they're driving down the road, the mother spots a crashed car and goes to check it out. She finds the bodies of the same men from the garage, and lucky for her, they still have a loaded gun. She picks it up and takes the man's stolen police badge, but would never guess that this badge will be even more important in saving their lives than the gun. Later, the family stops on the side of the road while her daughter sleeps, and the mother reveals to her son that she used to torture people with sleep deprivation in the military. She worked with a doctor who's running the hub, but is still willing to take her daughter there if it means they can find some help. Okay, she's been awake for 36 hours, and in 3.5 more days, she'll be dead. First of all, the mother should have known better than to approach the roadside crash from earlier because it's the perfect setup for an ambush. And as a soldier, it's something she should have an instinct to look out for even without sleeping for 36 hours. Now, it does bring up an important point, because if anyone has some crucial information to prolong the effects of sleep deprivation, it should be Jill here. The Special Forces trained to function under severe sleep deprivation, and one of the real-life tactics they use to stay alert after days without sleep is to rub Tabasco sauce under their eyelids. This stimulates the body with pain, and it sounds extremely unpleasant, but being sharper than everyone else, even for only 10 minutes, can make the difference between living and dying. They also chew on coffee powder to get concentrated caffeine into their system, and if we already can't fall asleep, then it's all going to be about tricking your brain to keep it working at a higher level to make better decisions for the sake of this girl's future. Now, this isn't her only advantage, because she also works at a sleep lab and has access and knowledge to all kinds of medication that could both put people to sleep or keep them awake for study. If I could keep myself and Noah here operating at a higher mental capacity, then we're going to be less likely to make the kinds of terrible decisions that get us killed. Now, if we have brain-enhancing medication, we need to be very strategic about when to use it, because if we are continuously medicated, our lymphatic system won't be able to flush the toxins out from the brain without sleep. That means chemicals we put into the brain are going to be there to stay. A good marker for when we can get the most effective use out of this medication is to test your judgment with memorization techniques. As the mother gets more exhausted, she tries to memorize numbers, and based on how many she can get right, it tells her how quickly her brain function is deteriorating. Now, the accepted diagnostic test for global memory impairment is to recall 5 random words or numbers. So if we get to the point where we can't remember more than 5 digits, then that means it's time to pay your doctor a visit. The next day, the family stops at a library to find a map to figure out the coordinates of the hub. Inside, the mother realizes that she's going to die soon, and her daughter will need to know to survive without her. She tries to teach the girl how to shoot, but Matilda here refuses. Insisting she learns, the woman takes the gun and shoots into the bookshelves, but the girl runs back to the car afraid. That's when the mother turns around and sees her son Noah standing inches away from the bullet holes. She thought he was back in the car, and in her sleep-deprived state, she could have killed him. Their judgment is so far gone that with every next decision they make, things are only going to get worse. Later, they decode the coordinates for the hub and figure out it's 150 miles away, but she hears a noise outside and looks out the window to find 2 released prisoners fighting over a vending machine. Realizing her daughter's in the car downstairs, they run out of the library to check on her, but it's too late, as the car peels out of the driveway. They chase it down the street, but run into a crowd of escaped prisoners. This man claims he won't hurt the mother if she lets him have her son, but she makes it clear that will never happen and fires a warning shot. The prisoners step back, but when they see she's out of bullets, they're ready to run in for the kill. Suddenly, the car pulls up with their daughter, and the driver tells them to get in. Okay, this mother should not have fired her gun, but it's important to get one thing out of the way first. She's been awake for 48 hours, which is long enough to have symptoms of loss of motor function, and in 3 more days, she'll be dead. However, she picked this gun up more than 12 hours ago, and if you're lucky enough to find a free gun lying in the road in the middle of an apocalypse, you better believe I'm gonna count how many bullets I have. Now, the mother had a great idea to teach her daughter how to shoot, but taking it away and firing 3 bullets is not a good use of your resources, so I would have made a rule for myself much earlier on not to fire this thing unless we were being attacked. Now, we can also reason that there are 50 prisoners here, and after being locked up without anything to eat, they're all going to be hungrier for food than for 17-year-old boys. Once we realize that sleep and hunger are their primary motivators, we can lie and tell them that there's an abandoned supermarket 2 miles down the road that's still stocked and they can find food there. I'd be willing to bet that 99% of the convicts will head for the make-believe supermarket, and anyone that chose to stay would be easier to shoot and kill with the bullet she has remaining. Holding the man at gunpoint, the mother finds out that dodging